Imagine Jamaica without reggae, jerk.
All right, so we got another video, right? How the Taino shaped Jamaica. I don't know if this is true. I know two people from Jamaica here, right? I know Bolo, and I know Jamaican Fish Shore. So I don't know if they know about the Tainos and if they really did shape Jamaica, but a lot of videos that I have researched, right, talk about the Tainos shaping Jamaica. So let's dive into this video, right, and let's learn about the Tainos and the Jamaican culture. We just dove into the Puerto Rican culture, right? We just watched two videos about the Tainos in the Puerto Rican island. Now let's dive into the Tainos in the Jamaican islands.
Imagine Jamaica without reggae, jerk chicken, or bammies. Jamaica's roots didn't start with Rastafarians or Maroons, but with people who arrived 600 years before Christopher Columbus. Yes, long before colonial ships touched these shores, Jamaica's identity was shaped by an indigenous people with wisdom that endures today, the Taino Indians. When you think of Jamaica, maybe Bob Marley comes to mind, or maybe the iconic Blue Mountains. But today, we are looking deeper, uncovering stories that textbooks often ignore. Who were the Taino? Why did they call Jamaica home? And what incredible contributions did they make that still echo today? The Taino people from South America navigated through the Caribbean with nothing more than wooden canoes and the stars. Around 600 AD, they arrived in Jamaica, making it one of the first islands they would inhabit. They didn't just stumble upon Jamaica, they chose it. This wasn't just a journey across waters. It was a journey toward a life of cultivation, community, and a deep connection with nature that many today could only dream of. The Taino didn't settle just anywhere. Jamaica's location made it an ideal spot, an oasis with rich soil and rivers, perfect for the crops they would bring with them.
I would love to go visit Jamaica. I hear so many stories. Yo, I got to talk to my baby pops. I got to go visit where, my ancestors originally came from, because the Arawaks originally came from Haiti, Jamaica, and Africa. So I want to visit where my ancestors, I'm a descendant of the Tainos, man. I know that my roots come from there. Listen, the paperwork goes back from, all the way up from my great grandma to her great grandma. Like, there's proof, right? Like, from pictures on down that they, they was part of a Taino tribe and everything. So listen, man, that's what made me want to learn. Like, I never understood it as a child, but as I got older, I got to understand, because I wanted to learn my roots. I wanted to learn where I came from and much more, right? I heard a lot of people talking about the Tainos. I've heard a lot of people talking about, different tribes and much more, but the Tainos is not something I hear much about, except unless it's, a family member or somebody that I know they grew up in the islands, whether they're Jamaican, Haitian, African, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican, you see, and even some of them don't even know about their own roots. They are just learning, just the same way as I am. So I appreciate everybody, right, that is going along with this journey with me, because trust me, there's going to be more lives to this. Listen, we're going to go deep down this rabbit hole, because what's crazy is, right, so many people in the island claim to be Taino, right? But in the city, I see how they cherish Ponce de Leon, Christopher Columbus, right? And they downplay the Taino tribes. But in that same island, there are actual tribes that live outside the city, right? They live in huts and stuff like that. And they don't live like the people in the city. They live different. They cook different, right? And they still say that they're extinct. How? Those people are still there. It's like they say that, Mexicans can't be black, but they have a whole, they got so many tribes of black Mexicans in Mexico. Who would have thought that, right? But yeah, black Mexicans do exist. My grandparents from Jamaica, Oh, okay, okay. Listen, man, I want to visit the island so bad because I know that's where my ancestors originated from. See, the Tainos that do exist in the island of Puerto Rico, right? It's because they migrated from Jamaica, they migrated from Haiti, they migrated from, you know, um, Africa, from them three places, and I forgot where else, but I gotta go down. But I know I went deep down into this rabbit hole. I just don't want to mix stuff up. So we're going, let's get back on track, back on the topic, because I will pour everything down and people are gonna be like, what? And but it goes hand in hand is the crazy part. I just don't want to confuse nobody. But real shit, man. I know my roots. That's the crazy part. And it's crazy how they downplay, our indigenous side. I'm not. That's why when people get mad when they like, yo, listen, I tell people I'm not a Puerto Rican, I'm a Taino. I've been saying that for the past 6-7 years. I'm a Taino. I had to think back because I started saying that when I was pregnant with my daughter. When I really got deep into it, my kids were asking questions and much more. So I went down the rabbit hole and started learning about my roots. And I took my pride to the side and started asking deep questions to certain family members that I knew that would answer my questions, show me pictures and much more. And I'm sitting here like, damn. When I saw a picture of my father's, my father's mom, right? I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this lady that looks like an Indian. She had two braids, right? She was dressed just like the people around here, but she was fully clothed. And she had two braids. And her braids, right? She was sitting on a chair. Her braid was all the way to the tree behind her. And I'm looking, I was like, damn, that's her braids. They was like, yeah. And I was wondering why my hair was always past my ass, almost to my ankles at one point. And listen, when I was a kid, I really didn't care. But when I got older and I had kids, is when I got curious and I did care. I'm not going to sit here and lie. So, I could see it in me. And if there's tribes in the island, in the actual island of Puerto Rico, right, with people that live in huts and actually still, even though that, the history with Christopher Columbus, Ponce de Leon happened, right, they still maintain, their tradition. They don't change. They don't even want to live in the city. They don't care about how we live out here in the city at all. They won't change for nothing or leave there where they're at. If anything, they're fighting to be heard, saying we're still here. And it's not just happening in Puerto Rico. It's happening in Haiti. It's happening in Jamaica. It's happening in Africa. It's happening in Santo Domingo. And it's happening in Cuba and in much other places. But what? Let's get back on topic so that y'all can know, a little bit about. We're diving into the history, not about what a shorty has already learned. Because these videos I haven't watched, I just saved them because they drew my attention, and we're going, we're reviewing and reacting to them together. So y'all gonna see me shocked in a lot of things that are being said, and I'm gonna compare them to other stories on different parts of our lives because, like I said, this is just part one of this live. Yeah, that is dope learning about our history, Vandillo, man. I love it. Like, listen, man, that's why I know so far, I know Bolo, if y'all haven't checked him out, right? I don't know if I have any mods, but Bolo, Bolo VR 2.0, right? He's from Jamaica. And he speaks about a lot of this going on in Jamaica. I love watching him, right? Now, I also follow, thanks to Miss Genesis 1, I also watch Jamaican shore fishing, and he does a lot of fishing up there in Jamaica, man. And I love learning about where my ancestors come from. Once again, I love history. I have collections of history books, right? Like, I think I got maybe 2 Bibles out there, 2 versions of the Bible. I downloaded on Amazon. Maybe I got like 3 or 4 along with one of the Qurans, right? Because I want, I'm comparing them to the history books and much more. Like I said, I love my history. But you know what? That's a topic for another live. Let's get back on here real quick. Let's get back to this, right? We're talking about the Tainos. We're diving deep down into a shorty's roots. I apologize. And I appreciate everybody.
They knew how to make the land work for them, growing cassava, corn, and beans in a way that still influences Jamaican agriculture. These weren't just farming techniques, but strategies for survival and sustainability. Their proximity to other Caribbean islands also made Jamaica a key settlement for the Taino. As they ventured across the Caribbean, they spread their culture, traditions, and agricultural practices, creating a unique island civilization that flourished for nearly 900 years.
Look at that statue. You know what's crazy, right? That statue, the Tainos got a similar mark right here, but it's red, and their feathers are a little bit different, and they got more markings on their face. And I've learned that there's also different Taino tribes. Maybe I'm tripping, but let's continue. Let's continue. And this was been 900 years. Let's continue.
They weren't just early settlers. They were pioneers of a lifestyle deeply in tune with nature and community, a lifestyle that would lay the foundation for Jamaican culture. But what really are their contributions to shaping Jamaica's roots? Number 1, cuisine.
I have a question though, right? If the Tainos shaped Jamaica, wouldn't that mean that the Arawaks really shaped Jamaica because the Tainos came from the Arawaks? I mean, I'm sorry, that was a random thought. I should have put random thoughts and topics up there too. But like I said, it's an open panel. If anybody wishes to come up and put on, give their own perspective. Like I said, we're diving deep down into the shorty's roots, right? Tainos. Let's learn about the Tainos, Arawaks.
Bean and jerk origins. Jamaican jerk chicken, now a culinary icon, originates in Taino cooking techniques. They used wooden racks for slow cooking, allowing meats to absorb smoky flavors, a method that would evolve into the jerk we savor today. Cassava bread, another staple, came from them, providing a key food source during long journeys or lean times. Without Taino cooking, Jamaican cuisine as we know it would be missing that iconic smoky edge. Number 2, craft and art. The Taino were skilled artisans who created pottery, carvings, and woven items adorned with intricate designs. Their art wasn't just decorative, it was spiritual, reflecting their deep connection to nature and the cosmos. Even today, Jamaican art carries traces of Taino influence, particularly in the themes of nature and ancestral reverence. Number 3, language and identity.
That's a lot of stuff that we've been lied to. And this is why I love learning about my roots, who I am, where I come from. Growing up, I was naive to all this, Now I'm learning a lot of this, right? Learning where I come from, who I am. I understand a lot of what's going on around me, especially, with just not just the with what's going on with the Black community, but what is also going on under the Hispanic umbrella. I'm not going to say Latino, right? I'm going to say the Hispanic umbrella, right? Everybody speaks Spanish, but they're under the Latino umbrella.
Did you know that Jamaica is derived from the Taino word Zemaka?
No, I did not know that.
Land
oh, wow.
And water.
Cool.
The very name of the island is a tribute to the Taino presence. Words like hurricane, hammock, and barbecue also have Taino origins.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
They are embedded in the Jamaican lexicon and serve as a daily reminder of this ancient heritage. This linguistic impact goes beyond just names. It represents the Taino's imprint on Jamaica's cultural DNA. Each time Jamaicans refer to these terms, it's a nod to a people who lived harmoniously on the island. The endurance of these words, centuries after the Taino were nearly wiped out, speaks to the lasting power of their language and identity. The Taino weren't just farmers or craftsmen. They had a structured society with a chief or cacique at the helm. Their communities were self-governing, with roles that blurred gender lines in ways ahead of their time. Women participated in governance and agriculture, showing that respect and equality were integral to their way of life. This idea of shared responsibility, of community-first thinking, is still woven into Jamaican culture.
That's crazy because it doesn't matter where the Taino tribe is at, whether they're in Jamaica, Africa, or Haiti, or in Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo. I noticed they all go by the same tradition. They go by the same, even the food they cook. What changes a little bit is the seasonings. But even the food they cook is the same, and I'm gonna keep saying it.
The Taino's approach to leadership wasn't about dominance, but guidance and mutual respect. The cacique was both a protector and provider, a role deeply rooted in the values of family and community well-being. This balance of power and respect set a foundation that would influence social structures on the island, contributing to Jamaica's sense of community resilience and cooperation. But the Taino legacy wasn't without tragedy. In 1494, Columbus arrived, and within 50 years, the Taino population nearly vanished due to exploitation, starvation, and European diseases. Imagine that. 900 years of peaceful existence wiped out in half a century. Yet despite this near extinction, the Taino left an imprint that refuses to fade. The arrival of the Spanish marked a dark chapter. The Taino were forced into labor, their communities dismantled, and their sacred spaces violated. Diseases brought by Europeans, to which they had no immunity, spread rapidly, decimating.
See the history, even what the Tainos went through in the Puerto Rican island, they went through in the Jamaican island. But see, I want to know if somebody that actually lives in Jamaica, right, knows of the Taino history, and if what they're saying right now is on point. That's something I would love to know.
Their population. It was a profound loss, but one that miraculously did not erase the Taino spirit. Before we continue exploring Taino's legacy, if you're finding value in learning Jamaica's hidden roots, please subscribe. By subscribing, you're joining a community that values heritage and knowledge. Hit the bell icon for more stories that go beyond the surface. The Taino legacy lives through modern Jamaica. Their respect for the land has become a core part of Jamaican culture. From sustainable farming to reforestation efforts, Jamaicans carry forward this deep reverence for the environment, channeling the Taino spirit every time they harvest cassava or prepare a bami. Just as the Taino honored the land and spirit, Jamaicans today continue to celebrate life through festivals, music, and art. There's an unspoken connection to those early beliefs.
I know
whether
that
it's
much is
honoring
true.
ancestors or finding rhythm in the land's pulse. Even the Rastafarian lifestyle mirrors Taino principles, valuing nature, spirituality, and simplicity. In every Jamaican family structure, you will see Taino's influence in balancing gender roles and community-first mentality. The idea that every member contributes and that wisdom and strength are shared reflects a blueprint from Taino village life.
I understand that and I get it, right? But where I'm trying to come to, right, if they're saying that the Tainos shaped Jamaica, right, the same way they say that Tainos shaped Puerto Rico and stuff like that, along with the Amazonian people, right? But my question is, right, if the Tainos shaped Jamaica or Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic, Cuba, right, wouldn't that mean that the Arawaks came first? I mean, I'm just asking because I know going further down the line, going down the rabbit hole from the Tainos, the Arawaks came first. Then came the Tainos. So, that's why I'm asking so many questions. Like, I want to know more. Like, I know as much as I know from my family lineage, right? And I want to learn more, right? Because these tribes go hand in hand. Like, it's crazy how far my lineage goes, my roots, how far my roots go, right? Let's put it like that. And I never would have thought that I would have, roots in Jamaica, roots in Haiti. I would have roots here in America along with roots in Puerto Rico. I mean, I know I was born in Ponce, right? I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, in the islands of Puerto Rico. But I would have never thought that my roots went that far. I would have never thought that I was a part of a tribe until I got older. I should have figured it out when I was younger. I figured so many other things out, like if I was Inspector Gadget or one of the characters from Scooby-Doo. But I didn't realize that I was a Taino until I got older and what my family members were talking about until I got older. That's the crazy part.
Their ideals were not erased, but absorbed. re-emerging in each Jamaican generation that embraces this spirit of equality and resilience. So next time you walk through a Jamaican market, savor a piece of cassava bread, or hear the words of a reggae song, remember that you are not just experiencing Jamaican culture. You are experiencing the living legacy of a people who, through resilience and wisdom, laid the foundations of what Jamaica would become. The Taino may have been almost wiped out, but their legacy isn't in ruins.
Nope.
It's in every Jamaican heartbeat, every corner of this land, echoing the story of a people who were here first, who loved this island first, and who, in a way, still live on.
What I would love to learn is, right, the history of the Arawaks. They come before the Tainos. The Taino's native tongue is Arawak. I would love to learn my native tongue, but I would love to go as far as the Arawaks. Crazy part is, right, the Spaniards have messed up history so much for the Tainos, right? And I'm saying just like that, that it's hard to go far back as the Arawaks because they've wiped it down. Now, I've gotten some information off the history books, but not as much as I want to get. Can I go further? Maybe if I would have started collecting books before, my 20s, then I could probably say yes. When I first started collecting books, they were horror books. They really on some for real. Then the history came. It's funny how horror taught me a lot about history. People will sit here and laugh, but for real, what drew my attention to history was really a lot of horror shit. There's a lot of messages in these horror movies that people don't even peep it. But hey, let's continue, right?